Third Temple Series, Episode 2. The preparations have already begun. What if the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem isn't just prophecy, but preparation already underway? For nearly 2,000 years, the Jewish temple has remained in ruins. But behind the scenes, artifacts are being built, priests are being trained, and ancient rituals are being revived. Could the stage already be set for the rebuilding of the Third Temple? Have you ever wondered about the story of the lost Temple of Jerusalem? To understand what might happen in the future, we have to look back at what once was. The story begins nearly 3,000 years ago with King Solomon, who built the first magnificent temple. For centuries, it was the very heart of spiritual life in Israel. But this golden age came to a tragic end when the Babylonians destroyed it. After decades of exile, a second temple rose from the ashes. It was later expanded into a breathtaking wonder by Herod the Great. This temple stood for hundreds of years, a symbol of faith and endurance. But history repeated itself. In the year 70 AD, the Roman legions under the command of Titus laid siege to Jerusalem and reduced the Second Temple to rubble. Since that fateful day, for nearly 2,000 years, the Temple Mount has been without its central structure. But what if the story isn't over? Many people, reading ancient prophecies, believe that a third temple must one day stand again in Jerusalem, especially in what they call the last days. This isn't just a forgotten piece of history. For some, it's a future waiting to unfold. This belief has sparked a modern movement that is actively working to turn prophecy into reality. Leading this charge are dedicated organizations, and one of the most prominent is the Temple Institute, located right in the heart of Jerusalem. Their mission is straightforward and ambitious: to prepare everything necessary for the rebuilding of the Third Temple, and they are serious. This isn't just about blueprints and discussions. They have already painstakingly recreated many of the sacred vessels and garments needed for temple worship, down to the finest detail. They've crafted the golden menorah, the priestly vestments, and even the altar vessels, all according to ancient texts. These items are not just museum pieces. They are fully functional and ready for use, waiting for the day the temple is rebuilt. This movement raises profound questions about faith, history, and the future. What do you think about these preparations? Is it a fulfillment of prophecy or a controversial ambition? Have you ever wondered what it would take to rebuild a biblical temple today? It's a question that fascinates people around the world. And for some, it's more than just a question, it's a mission. The idea isn't just about putting up walls. It's about bringing ancient traditions back to life. So what's actually being done right now to prepare? First, let's talk about the sacred objects. According to ancient scripture, the temple wasn't just an empty building. It was filled with specific sacred items essential for the ceremonies. This included things like the famous golden menorah, the altar of incense for burning sacred fragrances, special priestly garments, and the silver trumpets used to announce holy days and gather the people. Now, this might sound like something straight out of a history book, but it's happening in the modern world. Organizations like the Temple Institute have been working for years to painstakingly reconstruct these items. They're not just making museum replicas. They're following the detailed specifications laid out in biblical texts, using the prescribed materials and methods. One of their most incredible achievements is a massive solid gold menorah. It was created to perfectly replicate the one described in the scriptures, and it's not hidden away in a vault. Today, this stunning piece stands on public display in Jerusalem, close to the Temple Mount, as a symbol of readiness for a day when a temple might stand there again. It's a powerful sight, connecting the past with a potential future. But having the right tools is only half the story. The intricate temple rituals described in ancient texts required a very specific group of people to perform them. Priests descended from the biblical figure Aaron. Without them, the ceremonies couldn't happen. So, where would you find these priests today, nearly 2,000 years after the last temple was destroyed? Believe it or not, some Jewish groups believe they've identified modern descendants of this ancient priestly line. Through a combination of genealogical traditions and even DNA testing, they've located individuals known as Kohanim. And they're not just identifying them. They're actively training them. This training is incredibly detailed. These modern-day priestly candidates are learning the complex laws and procedures for ancient temple rituals. This includes the methods for temple sacrifices, the rules of ritual purification, and the many sacred ceremonies described in biblical law. They are studying and practicing rites that have been dormant for almost 2 millennia, preparing for a role that hasn't existed in generations. It's a profound effort to revive a lost world of ancient spiritual practice. So, from crafting golden artifacts to training a new generation of priests, the preparations for a future temple are well underway. It's a fascinating blend of history, faith, and modern dedication. Have you ever heard of a mystery that spans thousands of years, tying ancient prophecies to modern-day headlines? Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and controversial topics in biblical prophecy, the mystery of the red heifer. Deep within ancient scriptures lies a very unusual command. It describes a purification ritual essential for temple worship. And at its heart is a very specific requirement, a red heifer. This isn't just any cow. According to the texts, it must be completely red, without a single hair of another color, perfectly unblemished, and never yoked. For centuries, such an animal was seemingly impossible to find. Without it, the sacred rituals needed to rebuild the temple and resume ancient forms of worship couldn't be performed. This is where the story takes a dramatic turn. Just recently, several red heifers bred specifically to meet these stringent criteria were flown to Israel. This wasn't a quiet event. It made waves across communities who watched for signs of biblical prophecy being fulfilled. For them, the arrival of these animals isn't just an agricultural achievement. It's a potential countdown to a major prophetic event. The argument is that with the means for purification now available, the next logical step is the rebuilding of the temple itself. But this brings us to the heart of a massive global conflict. Where would this new temple be built? There's only one location specified in the scriptures, the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. This small piece of land is arguably the most contested real estate on the planet. It's where the first and second Jewish temples once stood, the holiest site in Judaism. But today, it's home to two of Islam's most sacred sites, the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. This sacred space is a flashpoint of immense political and religious tension. Millions of Muslims around the world revere it as the third holiest site in Islam. For Jews, it's the place where their connection to God was most direct. The idea of building a new temple there is not just a construction project. It's a scenario that could trigger unimaginable conflict. The political, religious, and security implications are staggering. Any attempt to alter the status quo on the Temple Mount could have explosive worldwide consequences. So, we have a puzzle with two very powerful pieces. On one side, you have prophecy enthusiasts and religious groups who see the red heifers as a divine sign, actively preparing for a future they believe is preordained. They are meticulously studying ancient texts, preparing sacred vessels, and training priests for a temple that does not yet exist. They see the obstacles as tests of faith, not permanent barriers. On the other side, you have the geopolitical reality. The Temple Mount is a symbol of identity and faith for billions. The international community watches every move in this region with bated breath, knowing that a single spark could ignite a firestorm. The idea of disrupting the delicate balance that exists there is unthinkable to many world leaders and diplomats. What does this all mean? Are we witnessing the slow, deliberate fulfillment of an ancient prophecy? Or is this a dangerous pursuit of a religious ideal that could destabilize the entire world? The arrival of the red heifers has undeniably added a new, urgent chapter to this age-old story. While most of the world goes about its day, quiet preparations continue in the background. The pieces are moving on a board that is thousands of years old, and the stakes couldn't be higher. What do you think about this? Is the arrival of the red heifer a sign of prophecy unfolding, or a coincidence with dangerous implications? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It's a complex topic with deep historical and religious roots, and I'm curious to hear your perspective. So if the artifacts exist, if the priests are being trained, and if the rituals are being revived, then one question remains. What event could actually trigger the rebuilding of the temple? In the next episode, we'll explore the political and prophetic events that many believe could open the door for the third temple to be built. This is the Watchman Record, Thank you for watching. Leave any comments below and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.